The test I planned for her was not out of revenge. It was to protect my brother from losing everything he had cared for and nurtured for years. My brother is Aarav. He built this bond so strong that even death couldn't tear us apart. But one day, a girl entered our lives, and everything started drifting away. Her name was Ria. Ria was stunning, confident, ambitious, the kind of girl who was delicate like a flower and sweet like honey. We met Ria during an inter-college festival when we started our college life. She was in the management committee, helping everyone around with a delicate smile. Aarav and I were there to give a demo of one of our college projects on behalf of our department. Before going on stage, Aarav was nervous. There were more than 20 prestigious colleges at the event. Representing our college was a huge responsibility, and Aarav had never spoken in front of such a large crowd. Ria noticed his anxiety and comforted him with her encouraging words. His tension eased a little. Aarav presented our project flawlessly, with clarity and confidence. Everyone praised us. Many professors from other colleges spoke to our department head and offered support if needed. When Aarav returned backstage, I was already waiting for him after handling the projector and other arrangements. I handed him a water bottle. He was exhausted from the hour-long presentation. Then Ria appeared, clapping and handing him a tissue. She said, "I'm from the planning department, but I'm really interested in innovations and tech, and I can see you're really good at it." Aarav was always the center of attention among girls because of his sweet nature, calm demeanor, and intelligence. But I had never seen a sparkle in his eyes when talking to a girl until he met Ria. As his best friend, I took the initiative to exchange contact information under the pretense of inviting her to visit our university's tech department. She happily agreed. That's how Ria entered Aarav's life. I noticed the unmistakable smile on Aarav's face every time Ria replied to his posts. So I took matters into my own hands after confirming his feelings. When Ria invited us to one of her friends' birthday parties, we went. After the party, Ria asked us for coffee. We agreed, but once we reached the cafe, Neeraj and I excused ourselves, pretending we had urgent work, leaving Aarav and Ria alone. Soon, we started meeting Ria more often. Sometimes she invited us with her group, and we also included her in all our plans. Everything was going well in the beginning. Aarav and Ria started dating. After college, Aarav moved from our shared room to a flat with Ria, but we still met every day, just like we used to. Aarav was grounded. A dreamer, yes, but someone who believed more in building than boasting. We were building a tech startup from scratch, and Ria was the woman he hoped to one day call his wife. Aarav believed in forever. Not the fairy tale kind, but the real one, built with loyalty, sacrifice, and a love that didn't flinch when life got ugly. For 3 years, he poured all that love into one woman, Ria. But love, he'd soon learn, is not blind. It's willfully blind. The signs had always been there, hidden like poison in sweet wine, covered with a beautiful mask of love and care. The kind of man he was, even before Ria entered his life, Aarav had always been the one people leaned on. He was the kind of guy who stayed back after football practice to help a junior tie his shoelaces. The boy who shared his tiffin with classmates who forgot theirs. In school, his teachers often said, "Aarav doesn't just get good grades. He has a good heart." At home, he was a dutiful son. He did his own chores, reminded his parents to take their medicine, and called his grandmother every Sunday without fail. He wasn't perfect, but he cared deeply about people, about doing what was right, about showing up. In college, he built friendships like a mason builds a home, brick by brick, with patience and trust. Kabir, was his roommate and instantly became his brother. Aarav helped me through anxiety attacks and exam failures. He brought food when someone was sick and loaned money without asking when a friend was short on rent. He never asked for much in return, just honesty and loyalty. So when he fell in love with Ria, he gave her the same kind of devotion. Full, unfiltered, real. That's what made her betrayal so gutting. It wasn't just the cheating. It was the slow erosion of everything he stood for. The way she turned him against his own nature made him doubt the friendships he had once nurtured with care. Aarav wasn't just losing a girlfriend. He was watching the good parts of himself unravel, one lie at a time. And yet, it was this same foundation, his past, his goodness, that would eventually help him rebuild. Because even broken people can rise again, especially when they've always carried the strength of others within them. It started subtly. Riya never liked me. That was the first red flag Aarav ignored. He's too nosy, she'd say. He doesn't respect boundaries. I had been Aarav's best friend since school. We had grown up together, fought bullies, shared crushes, and even once got arrested for a college prank gone wrong. Aarav laughed it off at first, but Riya persisted. He's always around. Don't you think he's a little too invested in your life? Then she'd act hurt. I'm not saying you should choose. I just don't feel comfortable when he's here all the time. Aarav started pulling away from me, unknowingly choosing silence over brotherhood. I understood everything, but I didn't want Aarav to struggle between love and friendship, so I willingly stepped back to make things easier for him. Then came his cousin, Anika. Anika had always been close to Aarav, like the sister he never had. She'd visit, bring home-cooked meals, and stay up late talking about childhood memories. Riya didn't like that either. She laughs too much when she's with you, Riya said once, her voice bitter. She's family, Aarav replied, confused. She's also a woman, Riya shot back, her tone sharp. What began as a small frown turned into a cold war. Riya would leave the room when Anika visited. Once, Aarav came home to find Riya in tears. I don't think I'm welcome here, she said. It broke him. He started asking Anika to visit less often. Over time, she stopped coming at all. Riya started controlling Aarav. Riya didn't shout. She didn't throw plates. Her weapon was quieter, guilt. When Aarav had late-night meetings, she'd send texts like, work is always more important than me. If he planned a weekend with friends, she'd say, I thought we were spending time together, but maybe I'm not exciting enough. Every fight ended with her crying and him apologizing for things he didn't even understand. She was slowly isolating him, turning his world into a single-person orbit, with her at the center, and he thought it was love. Once I tried to warn him, she's pulling you away from everyone. You're not even you anymore. Aarav defended her, like always. She just wants to feel secure. That's normal, bro. I nodded silently. But that was the day he began watching more closely. Soon, Aarav started noticing gaps in Riya's stories. Little things, wrong names, mismatched timelines, answers that didn't quite line up. At first, he told himself it was stress. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe he was overthinking. But then came the expressions. The way her eyes flickered when he asked simple questions. The quick shift in tone when he mentioned Anika, or when his phone buzzed with a message from me. It was subtle, so subtle it could have meant nothing. But his instincts whispered otherwise. He began watching her more closely, not with suspicion, but with a quiet desperation to understand the truth. He noticed the greed in her eyes when she spoke of expensive things, the coldness in her voice when he talked about his dreams that didn't involve wealth or fame. Something was off. He could feel it, and yet he chose to ignore it, because sometimes love makes you blind to the very signs screaming in front of you. Then came the lie that cracked the silence wide open. Riya claimed that Anika had said something inappropriate behind Aarav's back. When Aarav confronted Anika, she was stunned. She said what? She told me you think I'm too good for her, he said quietly. Anika's eyes filled with tears. Aarav, I would never say something like that. That night, Aarav didn't sleep. He kept turning things over in his head. Memories, moments, small red flags. He remembered the friendships that had quietly faded, the cousins who had grown distant, the little arguments that never made sense. Riya had been planting seeds, quietly, methodically, turning his support system into a field of weeds. The next day, I walked into his room, and he didn't waste time. How much do you know? He asked me. I took a deep breath. Enough. I didn't want to hurt you before. But now, you need to see the truth. And that's when the plan to expose her began. We crafted a beautiful trap, one where her true colors would be the only thing she wore. Enter Aryan. Enter Aryan. Rich, handsome, single, charismatic. Everything Riya had ever dreamed of. But here's the twist. Aryan wasn't real. He was a struggling actor I had mentored years ago. Now he was playing the role of a lifetime. the rich investor who just happened to stumble into Riyadh's boutique. He spoke of international deals, yachts in Monaco, and champagne breakfasts in Milan. Riyadh was hooked. To her, Aryan was the shortcut she thought fate owed her. Within weeks, she began slipping away from Aarav. Her entire demeanor changed. She went from sweet and caring to detached and irritable. Her replies got shorter. Calls went unanswered. Meetings were suddenly urgent. Aarav found a hotel key in her purse once. She said it was for a client. Still, he said nothing. She began picking fights. Every word he spoke annoyed her. Every dream he shared felt unrealistic to her now. And then, the moment came. Aarav, I think we should take a break, she said. He didn't cry. Not in front of her. She left. Without looking back. Riyadh was flying high. Aryan took her to rooftop bars and whispered lies wrapped in luxury. She posted pictures that screamed, new life, new me, while Aarav quietly watched her stories fade from his feed. But Aryan had a script and a finale. One day, he didn't show up. Then another, and another. When she finally tracked him down, he was laughing with another girl in the same rooftop bar he once brought her to. What the hell, Aryan, she snapped. He smiled, sipping champagne. Relax. This was never love. It was a role. What do you mean? That's when I stepped out from behind the curtain, leaning casually against the doorframe. He means, I said, you failed. Her face drained of color. I explained everything. The fake business, the rehearsed charm, the actor, the plan. You left a man who truly loved you, I said, for a fantasy. Just imagine if Aryan had been real. You wouldn't have just left love, you'd have sold your soul for it. Her voice trembled. You set me up? I shrugged. No, you exposed yourself. And with that, I walked away. She didn't follow. No more Aryan. No more champagne dreams. No more illusion. Her boutique began to struggle. Clients left. Her friends, sensing drama, quietly backed away. She tried messaging Aarav. No reply. She called. Blocked. She went to his office. The receptionist looked up and said flatly, he doesn't want to see you. Even Anika, once her closest ally, didn't return her texts. Riyadh was alone. Utterly, painfully alone. And for the first time in her life, she was truly self-aware. She saw what she'd done. The manipulation. The lies. The way she had tried to control love and twist it to fit her desires. She hadn't truly loved Aarav. She had loved the idea of what he could become. And when that fantasy didn't arrive fast enough, she abandoned him. Now, she had no one. The hardest part was watching Aarav struggle, hiding his pain, burying emotions beneath long hours and silent days. Yes, that was the hardest, because we weren't just friends. We were brothers. But surprisingly, Aarav didn't just survive. He transformed. He went to therapy, picked up boxing, reconnected with Anika, apologized to the people he had pushed away. Most of all, he forgave himself. He stopped asking, why did she leave? And started asking, why did I ignore all the signs? One day, I showed up at his place with takeout and said, you're back. He smiled. No, Kabir. I'm better. His startup thrived. His circle shrunk, but it strengthened. And he made one promise to himself. Never again would he shrink to fit into someone else's idea of love. Almost a year later, Aarav got the closure he truly deserved. He and Riyadh crossed paths at a bookstore cafe. She looked humbled. He looked healed. Aarav, she said surprised. He smiled politely. Riyadh, you look good, she whispered, her voice trembling. I am, he replied. A long pause. I just want to say, I am sorry. He nodded. I know. I was terrible to you. Yes, you were. Tears welled up in her eyes. Do you hate me? He shook his head gently. No, I just don't need you anymore. And that crushed her more than screaming ever could. I hope you find peace, Riyadh, he said kindly. But don't look for it in someone else's lifestyle. Build your own. And with that, he walked out. She didn't chase him this time, because for the first time, she understood. There is no room for greed in love. Love is devotion, without losing your strength. Months later, Aarav stood on stage at a TEDx event. He told a story, not a tale of betrayal, but of rebirth, of friendships that stood the test, of relationships that healed, of people who didn't just stay, but helped him grow. I didn't lose love, he said. I lost someone who never truly saw me. But in that loss, I found myself. The crowd clapped. I stood in the back, quietly proud. Because it was never about revenge. It was about setting a brother free. Love should never cost your identity, your friendships, or your peace. True love doesn't shrink your world. It helps you grow, connect, and thrive. And sometimes, the one who leaves isn't your loss. They're your liberation. If you like the story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mended Souls, where we shine beyond the scars.